Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Signs of infidelity. Did you ever have the feeling that someone's cheating on you? If you did, especially after being together for so long, chances are it's not just you. And yes, after excluding the paranoid people, of course, there are other exceptions to the rule. But I just want to say that if somebody has the feeling that they're being cheated on, especially out of nowhere after being together for so long, well, then chances are most likely it's happening. And even if you can't prove it, your partner shouldn't make you feel that way in the first place. That within itself is already a red flag. I believe that actions speak louder than words always, always, always. It's very easy to lie, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Now, of course, the biggest red flag of them all is the irregularity in their behavior, right? When they act weird or cold toward you or they just act off, that is the biggest indication. And even though it's the most obvious, it's still hard for people to see why. And that's because people are just in denial. And it's a defense mechanism. They don't want to accept the reality of the situation because then when they do, they know that they have to confront it, they have to deal with the confrontation, and then this becomes a reality to them, and most likely the relationship would end. And people are comfortable, they don't know. And even if they're not comfortable, even if they don't want to be with somebody like that, they just don't know what to expect after. It's like so much to think about and to tackle on, so it's just easier to ignore. And that pain is not out in the open. Now, I've spoken to a few people where women, men, they both said, you have small talk, you talk about these things, and they said that if their spouse is cheating on them, well, they just don't want to know about it because if they find out, then it's over. So they're willing to just be oblivious, and if their spouse is dumb enough to get caught or sloppy enough to get caught, I should say, well, then they'll end the relationship. Now, if acting weird isn't enough of an indication, even though it should be, I mean, it's so obvious, but let's say it's not enough and, somebody wants to look out for more, well, then I would say one thing to look out for is, the person that they're worried about, that person getting into shape. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous. Like, what do you mean? That getting into shape, should be encouraged. And it should be. Of course, it should be encouraged. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be. And I'm not saying that if someone is getting in shape, that means they're 100% being unfaithful. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's definitely one of the things to look out for, especially if it's linked to irregular behaviors, right? Then that's something to perhaps think about and to look out for. Now, the next red flag I want to talk about, I don't really see how there could be an exception to the rule here, especially if it happens out of nowhere, and that has a lot to do with phones, okay? So if out of nowhere, your partner is ultra sensitive or always on their phone and they're kind of like hiding the phone away and it's like, what are you looking at? Like, mind your business kind of situation. Or if you pick up their phone by accident just to see what the time is and they see you pick it up and they freak out, like, why are you touching my phone? Give it to me. Well, then, I don't know. I mean, again, I just don't see how there's an exception to the rule. Personally, I just feel like that's a really, really strong indication that they're hiding something. The last red flag I want to mention is when your partner's out and about. That's something to look out for, especially if they haven't been doing that in the past and you're always questioning where they are. Yeah, that's pretty much a sign pointing toward infidelity. Some folks might be thinking, well, what's the point of having this discussion? And the point is to make to reassure that you're not crazy, right? Because a lot of the people that get cheated on are victims of gaslighting. Their partner gaslights them. They make them believe that they're crazy. It's all in their head, and they cloud their judgment. A person should always trust their gut. Now, I'm not saying that someone's gut is always 100% accurate. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that is if you feel a certain way out of nowhere, especially when you haven't felt that way before, then at the very least, it's worth looking into. The solution can be anything that's right for you. Some people are okay with the arrangement. some people are willing to look the other way. I guess they're comfortable or they have Stockholm syndrome. I don't know what it is. Personally, I have no tolerance for this kind of thing. I think it's best to just separate yourself from the situation. I don't think people should be exposed to such toxicity. And some people wonder why they dwell on it, they obsess. I think fine if you want to look into what happened and why it happened as a reference for the greater future. Fine, makes sense. But to dwell on it and to ask questions why, there's just no point. It's like beating a dead horse. You're not going to change people. A lot of people feel like they can change their spouse or partner or whatever. You're not going to change people. People are the way they are. And I mean, they can change if they actually put the willpower to change it, but they can only change. You can't change them. You can help, but that's a complicated, different discussion. But, if somebody deceives you, most likely they're going to deceive you again. And at the end of the day, all you can do is control yourself. You can't control anybody else. So you need to make the best possible decision for yourself with all things considered.